The abandoned trains of Maine, locomotives of a bygone era, left deep in the North Woods. I love abandoned places. I love abandoned things. The rot, the ruin, rust, decay. These places, they're like our post-apocalyptic future. Today. These trains are not easy to get to though. Not a typical drive. You need to drive north. North. Even more north. Eventually pavement becomes dirt. And then you drive north. And then north some more. More and more north. Miles upon miles of dirt road. It's the North Woods. 3.5 million acres. It's rural exploration. On roids. Wanna ride this train? These trains are old. Like really old. Some people say they're ghost trains. Because of the length of this trip, you should be prepared. Because of where it is. Because how far it is. Do you know how many convenience stores? No gas stations. No police. No fire. No rescue. Your cell phone won't work for much more than taking pictures. Maine. Here's Portland. Augusta, our capital. There's Greenville. Moosehead Lake. Cacajou, where we'll spend the night. The trains. We're gonna bring our pop-up, crash, trains, crash, home. This video is gonna have an accompanying blog post, and that blog post will have a PDF, very detailed instructions on how to get there, GPS coordinates. You wanna do this on your own, go there, print it off, take it with you. Let's go. Here we are leaving Cacajou. Pavement becomes dirt. And as with any don't get lost advice, the number one rule is telling someone where you're going before you go, what your planned route is, and when you plan to get back. The roads, as you can see in our attempt to hold the video camera steady, are bumpy. Some spots are worse than others. Different times of the year are worse than others. These roads have been known to wreak havoc on tires. In addition to shale that will slice a tire with little problem, I have been on trips where old spikes from snowmobile tracks have poked holes in tires. If you're going to make this trip on your own, you need to understand that you will be just that, on your own. Bringing a few things along can't hurt. I brought a first aid kit for unexpected boo-boos and severed limbs. The Delorme map I was pointing to earlier, it's a staple for any Maine explorer. A compass can never hurt. A GPS, those are nice. Extra gas, extra food, and we brought along extra water. This is a picture of some of the types of rock that will slash even the strongest of tires, as evidenced by this blown out truck tire we passed. In addition to your spare tire, and I'm not talking about the one around your waist, and knowing how to replace a flat, I bring a tow chain, tire plug kit. Strong tires are a plus. I've linked to some of these items below the video. As you can see based on the colors, we're making this trip in the fall. If you're making this trip in the spring, also known in these parts as mud season, it's important to have four-wheel drive vehicle and bug spray. If you're making the trip in the winter, you'll want a snowmobile. These roads are privately owned and they're maintained by different logging companies. The main roads, what you're looking at here, are built for tractor-trailer logging trucks moving timber to various mills throughout the state. If you see a logging truck on the road, it has the right of way, and they drive like it. They go right down the middle of the road at high speed and they're expecting you to pull over, which you should. You have to watch out for the random deer or moose lingering in the road. Hitting a 1,000-pound moose up here will really put a damper on your trip. The roads are virtually empty. There's no one else around. If you drive straight there, without taking any pictures, no video, stopping to eat lunch, you can expect the trip from Cacajou to take between 2 and 2.5 hours, one way. That's an average driving speed of around 35 miles an hour. Some people go faster in parts, some people go slower. We stopped along the way at Ripogena's Gorge. The scenery up here is nothing short of beautiful, and the drive itself is half the reward. They don't call it God's country for nothing. At about the halfway point, you'll have to stop and register at this gate along the way. They charge a $10 per person day use fee. The money goes to support road maintenance. You'll also have to check out when you leave. It's a safety measure. The old, rusting 100-ton steam locomotives we're trying to find are remnants of a bygone lumbering industry. Way back in 1926, they built a 13-mile railroad in the middle of the woods. The cars were built with a tilt on the floor, so when they came to their stop, the operator could just pull up some pins, and the logs would tumble off the train and into the water. The wood they moved would be unloaded and sent down a series of lakes and rivers floating all the way to the mills in Bangor. When logging operations of that nature came to an end, they found it would cost too much to haul the now obsolete trains out of the woods, so they were abandoned. You'll know you've gone as far as you can get when you come to a gravel clearing in the woods where you can park. We had to do the rest on foot. The walk-in's relatively level. It's about a 20 to 30 minute walk. It isn't long before the air starts to change, however. Before the hair on your arms begins to stand. Before you begin to see signs of the haunted trains. Then, out of the forest, they appear. The two trains sit in a small clearing. You can climb up on them, you can climb in them, but if you're going to do that, you should make sure to bring a pair of gloves. There's sharp rusted metal all over the place. It's very steampunk. The sun would be setting soon, so we couldn't stay as long as we liked, or as long as we dared. As it was, we had to drive back in the dark. If you're making this trip and it's your first time to the North Woods, leave early so you don't have to drive back in the dark. There you have it, the ghost trains of Maine. Like I said, you can find written directions by following the link below. What would you recommend for anyone making their way to the abandoned locomotives of Maine?
I would make sure to have very detailed directions, step by step, preferably time or mile markers, so you know where you are at all times. Plan a longer day than you expect, just in case you want to stop along the way and look at the foliage or take pictures. And make sure to have plenty of food and water always, and headlamps are a must.
Do you think you could find your way back to the ghost train if you didn't have any directions?
I think I could try pretty hard, and I think I could probably do it. But I would have to be able to take my time.
Have you ever seen any abandoned trains before?
No, that was my first. I was an abandoned trains virgin.
Did you hear any ghost sounds? Did you have any ghost eerie feelings?
Some moaning.
Why do you think they call them the ghost trains? Have there been sightings, do you think?
Well, some people are crazy. And the North Woods of Maine could make a person go crazy. So I'm just saying, I could see someone hallucinating up here.
What do you think it was like back in the 1920s working on the trains?
Hard labor, probably lots of injuries, lots of men, lots of boozing after hours, lots of death. People probably died on the job a lot then. Logging was not safe.
No, especially when you're like, you dump those logs into the lake,
yeah,
and then the people that have to turn them, the log jams.
Yes, yes.
Did it seem very post-apocalyptic?
It seemed stuck in time, like time was forgotten. Time stopped right there.